thank you and welcome to the show for today. You are watching Perspectives with Alana McLaughlin, and I'm joined today by Dr. ReGina Etter, Metro Nashville Public Schools Director of Magnet Schools, as well as a local minister and overall role model and mentor. And so we'll be discussing innovation in education in Nashville. And so Dr. Etter, thank you for joining me this morning.
And thank you so much. I'm excited about this opportunity.
And I'm very familiar with you. We've been to church together, the hair salon, and I've always seen you and I've always wanted to hear your perspective. And so I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do that now. And I want to start off in this first segment with your background in education. So just your upbringing, where are you from?
Well, actually, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. So me being in education here, being a part of the Magnet program, it's just a return on their investment in me. Years ago, 60 plus, when they started pointing to me with education, providing teachers that were real, that were true, teachers that believed, then what that did for me was open up a whole new world. So coming back and working within the district and giving other students and educators an opportunity to learn and grow, that's what we do.
And what are some of the schools that you went to?
Well, I actually started out at Haywood Elementary as a little first grader, and well, let's back that up. Before that, I went to Providence, which was an all-black school. Then the next year, we came in with desegregation, and so I went to Haywood Elementary, and then on to Apollo, and then to Antioch High School, where I graduated, and finally TSU.
Yes. And did you get both your bachelor's and doctorate over at TSU?
No, I did not. I went to TSU for my bachelor's, and then on to Trevecca, and then to Rollins. But I've had an opportunity to work with several of the higher ed institutes. So I've worked with persons from Fisk, I've worked with Belmont, I've worked with Trevecca, I've worked with Lipscomb, I've worked in a lot of different places in order to sharpen my skill set, to empower and equip me, to make me better. So I do a lot of PD. I travel. At one point, I really traveled a lot across the country, working with different school districts to help their teachers learn more. So everywhere I go, that's the institute in which I'm learning from. So whether it's a classroom, whether it's a college, whether it's here today, I'm learning.
And that's a great way to just kind of summarize everything that you do, constantly learning and constantly teaching. And so I want to talk about your early adolescence, some of those early experiences. What was your childhood like?
Well, I am the oldest, a sister to, I had two brothers and one sister. And so we were family. We were family, back when the family was community. And so if my family, we worked together, we did things within our home, while also the neighbors next door. If we got in trouble, we got in trouble with the neighbors next door. And then when you got home, there was a lot of trouble. So, my grandparents were very, very important in our lives. My maternal as well as my paternal grandparents nurtured and I always believed, encouraged us to be educated. Get out there and do what will help you, and then give back. My father, my minister, my mom was in nursing, and so they believed that spiritual side of me was important, but also that educational side of me was important, and really encouraged and supported. My siblings and I all have graduated from TSU.
Yeah, so, go Big Blue.
Yeah, go Big Blue. So yes, with that, with cousins, with aunts, with uncles, persons that believed. And I think that's the key to what we do is believe. Looking at things through my perspective or someone else's, I know what has been of support for me. And it was that we believed in one another. And again, I go back to the power of community, just encouraging one another.
Encouraging one another. And I wanna really get into your time at Tennessee State University, because you were about my age at that time, getting that bachelor's degree that I'm pursuing currently at Tennessee State University. And so really, as a young college girl, how were you able to maintain and, take care of your faith while being, away from home? And, the college setting is rough. You don't always have time to go to church on Sunday morning, and you don't always have time, to pray and to take care of yourself. And so how did you kind of keep your faith strong in those college years?
Well, let me tell you, it's challenging. And that was one of the reasons that with my own daughter, with her college experiences, we talk about things that happened when I was in college, and exactly how I still gave God the glory, still believing. And you're right, it does, because with everything that comes at you, oh my goodness, how do I handle this? What will this be like? But I have found that because of the upbringing, because of being poured into, I always knew no matter what God was there. I knew that he had a place in my life and then as I have matured, now that relationship with him takes precedence over everything. And so I do understand, but for our young ladies, I mentor and minister to and become mom at work, mom here, mom there, with many young ladies that have the same problems, whether it's a young woman in college in her early years, Alana, like yourself, but even to young women who are in their 30s and 40s and are established in their jobs. But I've learned that choose you. That's my term. Choose you.
Choose you.
Do what is best for you. And in relationships, think about, this time I'm going to choose me.
Choose me.
I hear your perspective and I understand what you're saying, but I'm choosing me.
And that's a great way to start this first segment. In our second one, we're just going to pick back up on choosing yourself as well as your early beginnings in Metro. And I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of Perspectives. You're watching Perspectives with Alana McLaughlin, and I'm joined this morning by Dr. ReGina Etter, who is a Metro Nashville Public Schools employee as well as a minister and mentor to the local community. And so, Dr. Etter, thank you again for joining me this morning. And to rehash our first segment of the show, we talked about your background in education. You are a Nashville native, a graduate of Antioch High School, Tennessee State University, Trevecca, a lot of good institutions. And we left off with talking about how you maintained your faith and self-care as a college student. And I was especially looking for that answer because I'm in the same position right now in college and trying to, figure out my way. And so I'm going to jump a little further in the years after Tennessee State University and Trevecca, Rawlins, these different institutions. How did your beginnings in Metro Nashville Public Schools start?
Well, I actually started as a first grade teacher out at Tusculum Elementary, and I had an awesome administrator who came in to do an observation. I never will forget it. And afterwards, we had the post conference, and he said, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I thought he was talking about something else, but he was talking about me. And so with that, I thought, okay. And so once we did that, he had some persons to come in and observe me teach. And so I have this way of presenting information and sharing information that they thought was different. And so to this day, these 30 plus years, I've been doing professional development for Metro Public Schools and allowing persons to come into my classroom and working on various grants. And that's where I am now, serving as the director of the magnet school program for the thematic-based and academic-based schools. So there are 9 schools in which I work with, and they are amazing. We're doing some incredible things here in the Nashville community.
And working specifically with magnet schools, I know that's super interesting because I was a part of John Early Magnet and the magnet school system here in MNPS. And so what do you see, I guess, with the kids that you're working with that is a little different than, I'd say, your normal, your just regular gen ed learner? Are you seeing more community involvement in these magnet schools, more outreach, things like that?
Absolutely. Part of our funding, which it comes from the Office of Civil Rights as well as the Department of Ed in Washington, what we have to do is to ensure that we sustain the work. So we spend time working with community partners from all over. Parents, number one community partner is a parent because, again, we want to build community, but we get persons to come in, local universities and businesses, so that we can help develop the skill set. For example, one of our schools, their focus is the arts. 2 of them. We have one in elementary school as well as middle school, and so it's all about the arts, visual and performing arts. So we have TPAC. They help and support the work. We have persons that have gotten Grammy Award winners that have come and supported the work. So we reach out into the community, and it's nothing like a student seeing someone that's been on stage that's done it. And recently I was at one of the schools, and they were doing a reenactment of the Jungle Book, and all the students, the dancing, the vocals, it was incredible. And parents come out, and then community partners like churches, the faith-based entities, they support the work. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And therefore, it closes the opportunity gap as well as the achievement gap.
And I love that. And I love that you are so hands-on with that. It's awesome, especially knowing that I've had personal experience with these schools and these experiences. I graduated from the Nashville School of Arts.
Wow.
And so we had, Grammy Award winners like Shannon Sanders, Hunter Hayes, coming in and working with our arts departments. And it just made the difference of a lifetime to have these people who are from town and working here, give us those experiences and advice. And I guess with all that wrapped up, I forgot to mention in the beginning that you're an author.
Yes.
And so I really want to talk about how you got your foot in the door as an author, still being a woman of faith and still, you know, having your day job. How did you find time?
Well, let me just share. One of the things that we do through the Magnet World is that we emphasize the themes. So we are thematic based, but also academic based. And doing some research, I realized that our children may not necessarily have the vocabulary to talk to or speak to their themes. So we started with the book entitled Techie Tiger. And Techie Tiger is an incredible little tiger. His name is Tom, and he has a friend named Joy, and this was for Tom Joy
Elementary.
Right.
Oh,
Tom
I love
Joy
that.
Elementary. It's all about introducing digital literacy so that the students will know. When we talk about a bug, we're not talking about an insect. We're talking about a bug that's in the computer. Things like that to help them understand. And our second work was for our elementary school that emphasizes engineering. And so her name is, actually, it says Meet Carter Lawrence, the little engineer, but her name is Cartisha Lawrence. She's a little young girl, and her dad calls her Carter, and she wants to follow in his footsteps. She is excited. So then this year we rolled out at Alex Green. Alex Green has a dream, and it's about a little biracial girl who is bilingual, who learns all about these incredible women that are from her background on both sides of her family that are famous first. The first to do this, the first to do that. And we actually feature our own Dr. Adrienne Battle, who is the first African-American to be a director of schools here in Metro. So with that, so my writing takes on all of this for my job. So these are things that I do to enhance education, to help students learn content and vocabulary.
And for our viewers that aren't too familiar with Metro Nashville Public Schools, all three of these books are named after elementary schools in Metro.
Exactly,
I actually went to Alex Green.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm familiar with Tom Joy as well as Carter Lawrence. And so I think that is especially important because the kids see themselves in these books. And we have, you know, biracial characters, black characters, characters that you don't often see in popular children's books. And it's to give children the opportunity to see themselves in their environment with someone as accessible and as willing as you know, behind this is just a dream. I think about it like if I had that in elementary school, I'm like, oh my God, there's no telling what I would have written. And so I guess, how do you incorporate the books into your work? How did you propose these to these different schools?
Well, we do a lot with marketing because our work is designed to bring about diversity within the schools. So therefore, I go in through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusivity. So they're making sure that everyone feels a part, so that we're looking at women. Here we are. Women can feel a part and have these special dreams. When we're looking at women engineers, things like that, so it's a little bit broader. It gives us a lot more to talk to speak to, and really good teachers can take and write a whole curriculum unit. So when I propose this with marketing, the work that we do, we share these books with persons who will write or ask us for a copy. And so we cannot sell them because they're federally funded, but we can send them a PDF so they can do a digital version and look at them, things like that. And it's worked. It has been something for the students, for them to look at, for them to take home, to share with their parents, and they enjoy it. And then as an author, I get to go in on author days and sign books and talk to them. And like, she's a real person. I can't sing and dance, but I can write.
And I saw the Metro write-up of the last author day you did, where you were signing books. And in our third segment, we're gonna wrap up, you know, you being an author, you being a Metro employee, as well as you being a woman of faith.
Amen.
And you're working in ministry.
Yes.
And so I encourage our viewers to tune into the final segment of Perspective, that I'll be back with Dr. Etter to discuss innovation and education.
Fox 17 News at 9, covering local stories with in-depth analysis. We examine stories from multiple angles, providing more.
Welcome back to the show for today. I'm joined this morning by Dr. ReGina Etter, MMPS Director of Magnet Schools, as well as a minister and local mentor. And in our first two segments, we discussed Dr. Etter's upbringing in Nashville. She's a graduate of Antioch High School, Tennessee State University, Trevecca Nazarene University, and other great institutions. And we talked about her beginnings in Metro Nashville Public Schools. She began as a first grade teacher at Tusculum Elementary School, and from there began to do outreach and different community service-like activities in the schools, which then led to her now position of being the director of magnet schools. And so we left off in that second segment, Dr. Etter, talking about the books that you've written. I know that you've worked with Alex Green Elementary, Tom Joy, Carter Lawrence, you know, a number of schools. And we talked about the books that you had written for those schools, but also just going further into your career as an author, I'd like to know some of the adult works that you've written, and that'll lead into kind of what people don't really know about you, that you're a minister, and that you're a woman of faith, and that's actually how I had my first encounters with you at John Wesley United Methodist Church.
That's right.
And so I guess to lead into your life of ministry, I want to talk about some of the adult works or some of the older works that you've written in terms of, you know, ministry and education.
Well, let me tell you, this has been an awesome year of incredible things in 2022, 2023, and I actually author Crossing Jordan Rivers, Locked and Loaded. Let me tell you, my mom read it and said, "Oh, this doesn't sound like you," because it is a different work. It is a faith-based book, but it's fiction, and what it does, it talks about this amazing, wonderful, young, powerful lady like herself who knows who she is, is very accomplished, and she has her boyfriend Rick and all of this, but she meets different people. They cross her path. So Crossing Jordan Rivers is simply talking about the persons who cross our path. That we meet people because they need to be in our lives for a moment, for a season, for a reason, and sometimes for a lifetime. But what Jordan does, she's a counselor, so she gets to minister in a way that's different. So there are persons that come into her path that may be dealing with some things, and she gets to use her skill set as a professional woman, but also as in a faith-based way, without beating them down with the scripture, but allowing them to see the God in her, allowing them to know that there's unconditional love, that, hey, you know what, we can handle it. And so I started thinking about the persons who God had allowed in my life that crossed my path, but I had to stay locked and loaded, you know. Now, from the picture, you can tell.
Yeah, she's locked and loaded.
She's literally locked and loaded. And so, but she's loaded with faith. She's loaded with love and joy and peace and a way of encouraging others to be the best they can be. So go out there and work it, girl. So within the book, she talks about some different things. And then she talks about her own personal life, her life where there was a sickness and how she dealt with it in faith. And the friend that came in and rescued her and taught her, hey, we're not saying these are your last 50 days. We're not going to count down. We're going to count up. And so she started journaling. And so we actually launched this a couple of months ago with a retail therapy, not retail R-E-T-A-I-L, but retail T-E-L-L. And we had persons to come in and tell their stories just like Jordan is doing. And because we need some therapy. We need to be, and so one way we do it is to journal and to help us support one another.
To retail therapy. I love that. There's a play on retail.
Yeah.
And I know when I was first reading about retail therapy, I was a little confused about it because I'm like, wait, you know, the retail we know is, you know, going out and shopping and taking care of yourself. But to be able to retell the stories that are in you in those different perspectives make the difference of a lifetime. And I guess kind of I'm going back in time, but how did you really, I know aside from your childhood in the church, how did you as an adult woman get into ministry and so deeply?
Well, let me tell you, it has to be a calling. It has to be a calling. We have to be graced for it. That means God has given us the grace to handle things in a little bit different way. So as a minister, as a woman, as a woman that is working hard, that has an incredible job, I have 2 children, I have 3 grandchildren, all of that, then I have to know how to keep things in perspective. I have to make sure that I look at things through a different lens. What happens with my faith background, it has to be on the forefront. It has to be out there. I shared with a friend, we did a podcast at one time, Gus, God in us. Yeah,
I like that.
God in us. And with that, we talked about the relationship we have with him and how we lean into him, we listen, and being able to use that faith to help me to do the things that I do professionally as well as with ministry. So as I've looked, God has opened up all kinds of doors because I do trust him, because I do believe. And the crazier it is, the more I know it's him.
And so what are some of the experiences that you had as a young lady that really kind of opened your eyes to knowing that this was your calling?
Well, actually, spending time, just talking to other persons, and I was drawn to older people who had a faith walk.
Yeah.
Older people who didn't browbeat me with the word, but just walked it. That loved unconditionally, and I've learned that's what it's all about. You know, we can go out and raise money here, there, and do all these things, but if you have not love, and I had to learn that's what guides me, is the love that I have for people. So I try to be a spark of joy wherever I go, whether it's at work, whether it's on an airplane, wherever, grocery store, you have gas station, wherever, but just, you know, providing joy for persons. And so that's the faith, that's the fruit of the Spirit that we should be using. And it's not hard, it's just, you just love. You just love.
And how do you incorporate your faith and your ministry into the work that you do with Metro Nashville Public Schools?
Well, what I do is I just believe. Within my office, I have the word why. I know my why. See, I know my why. I know why I'm there. And when you know purpose, you can walk in purpose. And you realize that everything works for the good of those who love the Lord and are called to purpose. I think what we have to do is to ensure we understand our purpose. Get in purpose. And so at work, I still just share joy, the love, you know, things like that. All the work that I do, it's all about helping someone to get to their next level. So it's nothing like seeing a couple of weeks ago, I was at a school, and this little boy came up to me, and he's only seen me a couple of times. He said, "I remember you." And he just hugged me, and I saw the joy. I saw his little face spark. You know, a teacher yesterday, I was at the Martin Center, and a lady said, "I remember you." She's from years ago. We taught at joy. She said, "You're still the same person," which is great. That means that joy, you know, it's there, and the love for people. So my faith is very much, it's what I do. It's who I am. And so to be able to minister, and so at work, I'm doing ministry.
And Dr. Etter, I guess the last big question that I ask in this segment is, what are some of the gems that you want to leave with not only administrators, but families and students in terms of just incorporating that faith and that joy into everyday life?
To believe, to just believe, and know that you are purposed for something awesome, something so incredible, something beyond what you can imagine or think, because it can be done. And where I am today is because of my belief in Him, and also with persons that encourage, persons at work, and allowed me to just be me.
Yeah. And that's all you can be, honestly.
That's right.
And Dr. Etter, how can people connect with you? How can you be reached, or do you have any events planned, or how can the community get with you?
Well, currently, I don't have anything planned this week, but there's always something that comes up. And I'm ReGina.Etter@mmps.org. That's it.
So yeah. What about your website? I know.
Diversity in Action,
Diversity,
DNA. You can reach me that way as well. And most people know me through work, so they usually get me that way. DNA, and so we just, whichever way, I let them. I check everything and make sure that I get back promptly.
And where's your book available at? That's the last thing I want to.
No problem. You can get this, Crossing Jordan River, along with another book that I did, Side Effects. And so those are on Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Cool. All right. Well, Dr. Etter, thank you. I can't even begin to describe the joy that you've brought to me this morning, as well as the joy that you'll bring to the viewers, just sharing your perspective, being a Black woman in such a, you know, not just a male-dominated, but, you know, a non-Black dominated world. You know, we are the minority. And for you to be an author and a woman of faith, and to be as strong and, you know, the leader that you are, and to maintain your, you know, mental health, it just means the world, and it shows your strength, truly. And Dr. Etter, thank you for coming and sharing your perspective. And to my viewers, thank you for tuning in one more time. And thank you for allowing me the space to just share one more perspective. Good morning.